begin on the 1933 Declaration from the Jehovah's Witnesses that was attached to the letter in 1933 to the German high officials. And there's no collusion, but we're going to carry on. The League of Nations. The language in our books or literature concerning the League of Nations has been seized upon as a reason for prohibiting our work and the distribution of our books. Let us remind the government and people of Germany that it was the League of Nations compact that laid upon the shoulders of the German people the great unjust and unbearable burdens. The League of Nations compact was not brought forth by friends of Germany. In America, at one time, the public press announced that 140,000 clergymen had set aside a certain period of time in which a concerted movement was to be made, and which was made, to induce the American people to fully endorse the League of Nations. It was the Federation of Churches in America that issued a manifesto stating that the League of Nations is the political expression of God's kingdom on earth, and which by them was substituted in place instead of God's kingdom under Christ. It was in America that our organization, under the visible leadership of its president, pointed out emphatically that the League of Nations is not an institution of Jehovah God, because it is oppressive and unfair. It was that condition existing at the time which called forth language that appears in our books concerning the League of Nations, and also calling attention to the fact that such League of Nations compact can never bring about the relief and blessing of the people, because such relief and blessing can only come by adhering strictly to the principles laid down in God's Word and in the manner which Jehovah has pointed out. For almost half a century, our strictly Christian organization has carried on its work in various parts of the earth. Its books are published in more than 50 languages, and upward of 140 million of these books are in the hands of the people. For more than 30 years, our books and literature have been distributed throughout Germany, and millions of people are now in the hands of the German people. Books, millions and millions of these are now in the hands of the German people and are read by the people, all of whom will bear testimony to the fact that these books, based strictly on the Bible, are of great help to them and upbuild them to give them hope for a realization of the blessings which Jehovah God long ago promised. In all these years of our work and in the wide distribution of our books and literature, not one instance can be truthfully cited wherein our work or literature has been a menace to the governments or has any wise endangered the peace and safety of the nations. The endeavors of our organization being exclusively confined to bearing testimony to the name of and word of Jehovah God, it would be entirely inconsistent for us to attempt to exert any political influence in the governments of this world, or to do anything that would endanger the peace and safety of the nation. We have no desire nor inclination to do anything except to carry out our divinely given commission to proclaim the word of Jehovah God. In America, Canada, and other parts of the British Empire, the political clergy, priests, and Jesuits have persistently persecuted and continued to persecute those of our organization, and without just cause or excuse, and we have every reason to believe that a like influence has been subtly employed by the great enemy Satan to misrepresent us and our work in Germany. We remind you that in the years past, the political clergymen have brought more sorrow upon the German people than probably, say, other class of men. Probably any other class of men. We have no desire to fight with the clergymen, but we do ask that the ruling powers of the nation judge us not by misrepresentation of these men, such men, but that we be judged according to the Word of God. And the word we are doing consistent therewith, Jehovah God persecutes no one, but permits each one to choose his own course. holding him responsible for his acts according to knowledge. Jehovah God has emphatically expressed his anger against those who do persecute others who are trying to serve him. And this proves that those who persecute us do not represent God, but that they are incited so to do by the enemy of God in man. Psalm 72:4. Great truth. The Holy Scriptures viewed in the light of present-day events, which are in fulfillment of the divine prophecy, disclose that the time has arrived when Jehovah will make his name known to all creation and vindicate his name and clear it from the defamation which Satan has placed against his holy name. Psalm 83:18. When Jesus Christ, the vindicator, ascended into heaven, Jehovah commanded him to wait until his due time to put the enemy down. That period of waiting has now come to an end, and God has sent forth his Son to oust the enemy and rule in righteousness. Psalm 110:14. Hebrews 10:12 and 13. The world or uninterrupted rule of Satan has ended, and this began to be evidenced by the World War in 1914. And since then, and until now, is the time when the gospel of the kingdom will be told to the people. Matthew 24:3 and 14. Satan has now been cast out of heaven and down to the earth, and now confines his operations to the earth in an endeavor to blind the people to the truth and destroy them. And that is the reason for the modern day sufferings of humanity. The prophetic words of Jesus now apply. Woe to the inhabitants, the rulers of the earth, and of the sea, the people in general, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Revelation 12:12. The people of Germany have suffered great misery since 1914, and have been the victims of much injustice practiced upon them by others. The nationalists have declared themselves against all such unrighteousness and announced that our relationship to God is high and holy. Since our organization fully endorses those righteous principles and is engaged solely in carrying forth the work of enlightening the people concerning the word of Jehovah God, Satan, by subtlety, endeavors to set the government against our work and destroy it because we magnify the importance of knowing and serving God instead of our organization being a menace to the people and safety of the government. It is the one organization standing for the peace and safety of this land. We beg to remind all that the great crisis is upon the world because the transition period from bad to good is at hand, and hope of the world is God's kingdom under Christ, for which Jesus taught his followers constantly pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is done in heaven. The power of Jehovah God is supreme, and there is no power that can successfully resist him. It's time to exercise his power in the interest of humanity, and to the vindication of his great name is here. In this connection, we respectfully call attention to the admission and warning of Jehovah God, both to the rulers and to the people, which applies to this very hour, wherein he says, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way. When his wrath is kindled but a little, blessed are all that they put their trust in him. Psalm 2:6 and 10 and 11, verses 10 and 11. The present government having declared adherence to the aforementioned high ideals, we are persuaded that the rulers do not desire to knowingly resist the progressive witness work to the name of Jehovah God and his kingdom, which we are now carrying forward. It is our work. If our work is merely that of men, it will fall of its own weight. If it is of Jehovah God and being carried forward in obedience to his commandment, then to resist it means to fight against God. Acts 5:39. We therefore appeal to the high sense of justice of the government and nation and respectfully ask that the order of prohibition against our work and our literature be set aside and the opportunity be given us to have a fair hearing before we are judged. We respectfully ask that the government appoint a committee of impartial men to hold a conference with a committee of our organization, and that a fair and impartial examination of our literature and our work be made, to the end that all misunderstanding may be removed, and that we may without hindrance obey Jehovah God's commandment, now applying to us, to wit, go through the gates, prepare ye the way of the people, cast up the highway, gather out the stones, lift up a standard for the people. Isaiah 62:10. The peoples of Germany are a God-fearing people and should not be deprived of an opportunity to learn of Jehovah God and of his gracious provision to bring lasting peace, prosperity, liberty, and everlasting life on earth to all those who know and obey him. Let all who love God work together to honor and vindication of his name. All who take contrary course must take responsibility before God, but as for us, we will serve Jehovah forever. Resolved that copies of this declaration be respectfully delivered to high officials of the government, and that the same be given wide publication to the people, that the name of Jehovah may be further known. That is the conclusion of the declaration prepared in 1933 and given to the German hierarchy and the people. There's nothing in support of the Third Reich. There is nothing in support of the Nazis. That is a fallacy of the apostates who are bent and determined to destroy Jehovah's organization. Of course, they will not succeed because no weapon formed can succeed. But here's the point. We must not look to the apostate for the truth. It's not there. It's not with them. They are from their father the devil, John 8:44. They do the desires of their father. They lie, they cheat, and they steal. Now, this declaration of 1933 is the same that they report in 1934, and it's the same word for word in the 1934 yearbook of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I have not yet told you, I have not yet presented why these apostates have jumped on the bandwagon of an apostate who claims that the Jehovah's Witnesses colluded with Germany, with the hierarchy of Germany, the Third Reich, the Nazis, in 1934, 1933. And of course, as we've learned already, the Jews weren't even persecuted. Not really, not to the extent that they eventually were gassed and shot and killed in 1933. It's true, anti-Semitism, sentiment towards the Jews was on the uprise, but they were not yet persecuted physically where we were. We were thrown into jails. My brothers wouldn't go into the army. We wouldn't support Caesar. It's all there. Thanks for watching this video. The next video will be on the letter and the reason why these morons attack Jehovah, these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, apostates attack Jehovah's Witnesses today. And it's all a fallacy. It's all based on their lies. It's like one of the apostate spreads a lie and the other apostates swear to it. Thanks again.